Hey everyone, this is Mr. Everything, and I wanted to make a video on my 2004 Dodge Neon SRT4. I picked it up a few months ago, so it's still a work in progress, but I just wanted to make a video on it. I got a Grand Marquis like 5 or so years ago, really liked it, and never got around to making a video, and then I got in a fender bender, and it's white paint, so it started to peel. That's notorious on those, and the clear coat's coming off. So this car, at least as it is, I think it's still pretty nice looking. It's not perfect, but it's just a secondary car, and it's kind of was an impulse buy, so I figured get something on it while it's still, I mean, there's definitely some rust bubbling on the paint, and it's not too nice underneath, but it's not shot, it's not wrecked. It was a clean title, and I'll talk about some of the things I did. Hopefully there's not too many interruptions. There's like way more people here than there are buildings, so I guess it's like Agenda 2030 before my very eyes. Just everyone's crammed here now. So the first thing I'll talk about, so the day I get it, I go to vacuum the carpets out, and there's water everywhere, so that was really disappointing. It's one of those things when you're looking at a car, you don't think, let me lift up the carpets or the floor mats. So the sunroof doesn't work. I knew it looked like it was off track. It's raised up there, and it's an outdoor car. I don't have a garage where I live, so I can't afford to be fooling with it and break it or something. So I put like an RTV, but it's just a silicone, not a gasket sealer. And then I was like, well, it's actually still leaking here. And that there's videos where you can clean that lip, or maybe you can even get another seal. But I kind of did it the trashy way, but I did mask everything off. Put Flex Seal spray. Looked horrible. The bead of silicone looked okay, but the Flex Seal just looked like spit. It was all full of bubbles, so I spray painted it black. I mean, from a distance, it doesn't look awful, but it's not very good. And it's windy out, so I don't know. I just want to try and make this video while I had a chance. And then I did do a little bit here because there was a ton of water in the trunk. It was like a swimming pool, but it was actually from the tail lights. And this is one thing I'd like to mention with this car is usually when you look up aftermarket taillights, which these are actually pretty nice, they kind of, the lights here, and I think there's some LEDs that kind of come out to where these have like a nice aggressive slant. So I don't know, they were on it, and I haven't seen anything like those. They are like DOT, so they're not custom made or anything, so they're kind of nice. I changed out these bulbs. I'm not sure if it's this lens housing, but I bought ones that were just like, they're supposed to aim like that for the reflectors, but on this side, they weren't, the fitting, the way that they're housed in here, when you lock them, it would then aim that way, so I had to get 360 ones so they would still have a correct beam pattern. And then it's just factory incandescents, because I don't want to put resistors, I don't need them for tail lights. And the wing, I mean, it looks okay. It is starting to rust there. And then it does have the factory 17s, which, I mean, the wheels aren't, they're kind of, the finish is kind of rough, cracked, but they're not too curved up. And it has a decent stance. I didn't do too much to the car. I just put like the cheap splitter on it because the bumper was cracked and scraped up, so that kind of hides it some. And then the other spot where the leak was really bad, which this took me months to figure out, because it wasn't, thankfully actually it wasn't raining too much over the summer. So every time it would rain, I kept these floor mats out of here, and I'd see where it built up, and it was this side and over there, same spot. And I believe it was coming in from this, so I took these door seals off. There's metal, kind of like, I guess, a embrace or a reinforcement. Cleaned the channel out, tightened it, cleaned it, and then I put some more of the Flex Seal spray on like the pieces of metal that are tack welded, kind of seal it up. And this car has a turbo timer for some reason, I guess to make it cool. And I think that could be a place where water was coming in, so I packed that in with some silicone. And I really haven't had it. There's sometimes if it's a downpour, water would sit on top of this and probably roll in, so I put a couple of holes on the outside, so if it does, it'll just run out. And then I sealed these little gaps together. Doesn't look good. It's kind of shoddy work, but when you have a car that's outside and it's getting wet every time it rains, I just pieced it together, and I really haven't noticed it getting wet anymore. It's been raining like hurricanes every time it does rain, so if it does get like a little damp right here, I don't complain, but there's no more pooling and it doesn't smell musty anymore. I'm not sure if these were factory floor mats. They were with it when I got it, but or if they were just someone made them licensed for the car. But they add a little touch. I mean, they're color matched. I've seen them for sale, but I don't know if they came with it. And I'll get a better shot from, I think, in the back seat. So my main complaint definitely is the bucket seats. They're so tight. I'm about 6'1", 6'2", 220. I can definitely fit in them, but those bolsters, you definitely feel them. Makes it hard to get in and out. And I still think, the interior, that's my specialty. Outdoor cars, they never look that good. They always, especially when they're older, I try and keep them nice, but they just show. But inside here, I cleaned up the interior, so it's looking okay. The dash is nice, it's not cracked. I scrubbed it up with some interior cleaner, put some Armor All on everything. Finally getting the smell out. It smells like it was just an old car. It sat outside and had some water in it, but starting to get that. I put Resolve in all the fabrics, seats, carpet. And there's really not, it's just mostly a neon on the inside. Nothing really different. So I don't think there's too much to show. Roll down windows in the back, even on these, which I don't really care that much. I switched this out to LED. Like with the Grand Marquis and probably most cars, these lights shut off if you have the door open or something. After like 10 minutes, they time out to cut power, save battery. As far as I could tell, this car doesn't do that. So I figure I have the door open, I'm cleaning it for an hour or two. That's probably going to drain the battery more than putting an LED in it, because I guess due to resistance, this LED never shuts off the whole way. It's a little brighter now because the door's still open a little bit, but at nighttime it's still faintly on. I think they call it ghost LED. I've read that in the forums. Nobody's ever had their battery drain, and the longest I go is like 2 or 3 days without driving it, and I haven't had a problem since. And then I added that little caddy thing or whatever, organizer, just to put some flashlights and cloths and stuff. I kind of forgot this car doesn't really have a headrest, so I had to just wrap it around the top piece, but it works. The back seat looks okay. There was water here. I think that was actually coming from back here, coming in through the taillights. I think when it puddled, it just came the whole way. I don't think it ever actually leaked here. It was just coming in from there. You do get a 60-40 split. This part stays intact. Oddly, the headrest up top stays intact. It's just the seat back comes out, but it's kind of neat. It is kind of nice. You get the whole pass through the whole way through, so I can't complain about that. Aside from cosmetics, I haven't done much to this car. It's high mileage. I think I overpaid for it. It's not as nice as I thought, but it does run good. Mostly the problems, it needs just like suspension, needs new shocks, which from what I can tell, the only thing, the regular neons don't work, so it's basically either $1,000 BC coilovers, knockoff China ones that'll probably be worse than the shot ones on it, or what I'd like to do is maybe the Mopar, but then you have to transfer the old springs onto those, so even though they're cheaper, that would be more work. But that's what I'm working with here. Most of this was all how the car was when I got it, aside from the tacky silicone and Flex Seal. That was the radio in it, but it's a Kenwood, so that's pretty good stuff. There's the turbo timer. I had no clue. I thought it had something to do with like a tune, but no, it just keeps the car running. I never knew anything about them, so it does work. Surprisingly, they wired it up like everything works. I looked at the forum list or post. They have it tied to the handbrake, so if the handbrake comes off, it'll kill the car. So everything works. And I'm not sure if that was a factory position for that CD player, because I think most of them I've seen were in here. So I don't know if they took these whole DINs out and swapped them, or if there was an option, because obviously the radio's been replaced. And I think I don't know. I don't know that much, but it's nice that they put it there and purpose that if it wasn't there. Just a little bit of storage. And then the gauges. It's actually a little bit cracked here and kind of scratched. I looked at how to do that. I think my LED right here is out because it's kind of dim here. The dashboard isn't cracked, so I don't really want to risk taking that all out just to get to those, to change anything. Some goodies in there. And then what really made a huge difference was seller on eBay makes these shift boots for this car, and they're suede, and this one's like a vinyl, looks like the carbon fiber weave that the factory one is. And it's really hard to put because you have to reuse your bezel, so it's kind of hard to stretch it over there and glue it on, but it came out looking really good. It's nice and soft and pliable now. And then I switched this to a DCR aluminum shift knob, so to me, it's okay. The factory one looked nice, but I didn't like that it was plastic and the finish was starting to come off, so it's okay. And then I have DCR shifter bushings. It did have 2 booger bushings on here, and when I got it, I was wondering why, like, in gear it would move like that much, and out on the transmission, both the bushings were completely gone. So it's amazing that the car, you could even get it in gear. So it's notching now off those aluminum bushings, but you actually know where you're at. And I learned stick on this car, so I'm not perfect, but that was tough to have a car that was so loose. And at least with this car, like, third gear looks like it's first to me, but that just, so I don't know if most car like, but first is like really over here compared to fifth, which is still almost in the middle. But that's just this car, I guess. And then I put this in here just to give it more padding and raise it up kind of to a better position. And there's not much going on in here, but it's all clean and it all works. I'd say it's pretty up there in mileage, but again, for the body rust and suspension that needs work, engine-wise, it runs good, idles perfect, has power. I'm not sure how accurate that boost gauge is, but it can get 14-15 pounds of boost. It doesn't sound like there's any leaks, but I've never had a turbo before. But to me, it seems like everything works as it should. It still has good power. The only thing I had close was the dual overhead cam Dodge Stealth, and this has more power than that, definitely for that turbo. So I'm not sure if I'm missing something with the mileage or anything, but to me it's still a hell of a car. Has a lot of power, so for the age and the mileage, I'm still pretty happy with it. Then as far as the trunk goes, not much going on here. It's rusted here. I've always tried to keep these folded over. Welds here from rusting, but this one's already like that. I'm not sure if they're all supposed to spring up like this, but if you don't catch it, you can hear that rust just coming loose and falling out. So I put a carpet in here because there's some rust stains on this. Kept a wheel chalk for when the parking brake didn't work, but that's thankfully been fixed. It would pull up here. I was again assuming it was somewhere else, but my dad told me to check the taillight seals. And this one, I reinforced it. I drilled some holes down the bottom of that in case water would pool, it wouldn't come in. And then I put some weather stripping behind that, kind of to help push it this way. But this one was still leaking, so I had to put silicone. So as far as this spot goes, this one has silicone for reinforcement. This side doesn't, holding up without it. It's been good And then here's obviously under the hood. Unfortunately, that was one of the problems of getting this car. I have no maintenance history on it. I don't really know anything about it. From what I can tell, it's all stock. The only thing that was added that I can tell was a blow-off plate. I'm not sure if it was the Mopar one. I actually think without a light, you can't even see it. It's on the diverter valve. I think Chrysler calls it a surge valve on this car. And because there's no hard pipe, it's still factory down here. So it's just, which I kind of like that. It doesn't sound as good as a blow-off valve, but it still seems to run fine. So, and it doesn't, like the hard pipe, I think you lose one of your vacuum ports down there for some type of monitoring. This was all cleaned up and taken care of when my dad helped me get the, because you have to take the battery tray out and it was all rusted. So there was a bunch of oil in here, everything got cleaned up, new air filter. I'm not going to change it to a K&N because this setup is fine for me. I thought about maybe putting the gas shocks on this, but it's another $80 and I don't think it's worth that. Beyond that, I don't think there's too much else to show. I'm just going to put a little bit of wiper fluid in here. It was low on coolant. I don't think it's gone down any. It was low on oil, but I noticed the gasket was off on the drain plug. So my dad came up with one, and since then I don't think I'm losing oil anymore, so that's good. It didn't look like it was burning any. So hopefully that was just the leak there. Cleaned up the oil pan and haven't seen any on it since. And then it had the Walmart special battery on it, but from what I can tell, I have an AGM Autocraft on my Grand Marquis, and I don't see any made for this, so I'm not sure if it's not a popular battery size or if this is just like a cheap battery so they don't make it in a AGM option. And I haven't done too much here. It's all factory. It had the eyelids on it. I took them off. They were worn out and looked terrible. They weren't lined up. I used the Cerakote headlight restore kit. It had LEDs in it, turn signals. They were switchbacks. I didn't want to drive around with blue ones, just asking to get pulled over. The resistors were busted. That one worked. This one was loose. They did install them in a nice spot, but the wire came off, so I had to heat shrink and zip tie it. I think it's holding good. The LEDs weren't right for it. They were like a tri-beam, so I put a regular 9007 replacement so that they look good now. I actually had to make covers that I don't think will show up right there. The heat sink extends out and then water would roll in, so super glued those plastic little, almost like an awning for a door, and just put that to help divert the water. And I haven't had any water in the headlights since, so everything just kind of for now staying the way it is, but it does run, so I can't complain really with it. And the intercooler had a nice big dent in it that I didn't know till well after I got it. Surprisingly, no leaks there. And it does have LEDs that were in the fog lights when I got it, so I'm sticking with those. And then just put those strut rods on it. I like the look of it, but it's probably different for everyone. So I guess I'll just start it up, and I might see if I can find a spot to put it at and rev it up so you can hear the exhaust. It's all stock, but just if you want to hear it. One thing I'll mention, like I'll take it for a drive too, if I can get enough space on the road, just so you can hear that blow-off plate, if it's anything that you're interested in. Now they'd probably make some noise again. The shocks are shot, and I know it needs engine mounts. They're all like, at least the rubber's not like missing, it's not split in half and all over the place. It's all dry. You can tell it's starting to dry rot. It's cracked, and it does have a lot of give, but that's it again for this car. To me, it's not worth it. It'd be a lot of work. I could maybe do the one on top. I'd like to know if anyone else, you could just get away with at least doing one, so you have one new one. I know there's like the harder one, and then there's some that are more designed after factory, but air conditioner works too. It's ice cold, so we'll go ahead and start it up. runs good. Air conditioner's cold. It's colder than my Mercury. I put that on there, and then I have that Whistler. You can see anywhere on the glass would be way too. Turn this air down. Anywhere on the glass would be basically in the way. It would be in the way of my visor there, or in the mirror. So I had to just get some double-sided tape and put it on like that portion there, hardwired it into the mirror, which is nice instead of having to run it up in the headliner and down. This car, since it has power there, that was simple, and it's really about all. Sunroof, that was actually where it was leaking at. As you can see, pretty bad. So since I did my little Ginsey Flex Seal, no more water there, it doesn't work. Wouldn't want it to now anyway, because it just ruined the seal. But never had a sunroof, and this doesn't make me want to have one. So I'll see if I can find a spot to rev it up a little bit. I'm gonna take it for a ride. That's all I'll do here before people start crying about it. But I think it sounds pretty good for a factory exhaust with that mileage on it. So I'll just take it for a little drive. And maybe you can hear that blow off plate, if you care. Definitely hear all the bumps and rattles, but at least the clutch is usable now. When I first got it, it had, like the bite was basically right off the floor. It was really hard to learn like that, but since then, we got a DCR. I didn't get the aftermarket because I didn't want to take that little cup thing off. Just replaced the rod with the new bushing, and I fixed it up. Just that little bit of play from the old bushing that was worn out made all the difference. It's about right in the middle now, so it's not bad. I mean, I'm happy with the sound, happy that it runs. Haven't wrecked in it, so that's a plus. Hopefully I can find a spot here to let it run a little bit. Mostly rear-wheel drive, and then my first car is a Stealth, so it was front-wheel drive, but it didn't have near enough power really to do that. This sound take new tires over nicer ones that are worn out. And I haven't been too crazy about getting on it just because I'd hate for something to go wrong with it. Because I really don't want to put the money in it, and I don't have that much know-how. But just add me to the list of punks on YouTube, basically, with an SRT4. At least this one's not wrecked. Probably won't wreck it now. When I'm distracted making videos, then maybe the torque steer will get the better of me one of these days. Didn't get me today. But it has good boost though, so that's fun for me. I mean, that stock turbo is pretty small, but to me, I don't know I have anything to compare it to. So. Do a couple of downshifts here when I slow down. From what I tell, you can't heel toe in this because you pretty much have to be too hard on the brake. I'm not sure. I just when I'm not on the brake, I just flip the throttle and downshift it. So like I'm slowing down here. Didn't really match it. Didn't need to be that low of a gear, but that's basically how I do it. I'm still learning, so should be up a gear, but that's how I downshift. I just want to have some fun with it. Not sure if that's the way to do it, but that's the end of the Joyride. I'll go back to not driving it as hard. Probably if I had a tripod set up, I could have had a better view, but that's enough of that. So hopefully you enjoyed the video. Maybe I can get a little more progress done and make something else in the future. And hopefully the car's still in one piece, and so am I. So thanks for watching, and